on today that I admire so much and have for so many years. Please welcome Emily Sutton-Smith, coming to us from Michigan. Hello!
Hi, right here in Michigan.
Thank you for being here. So,
Sure.
you have had an extraordinary career journey. Here are just a couple highlights. Okay. Professional
Oh,
equity film, television, and theater actor and singer in New York City. You have an MFA in acting. You started your own theater and company in Williamston, Michigan. Professional book narrator with more than 150 audiobooks and counting. Plus, trained and certified pastry chef. Mom,
yeah.
wife, sister, daughter. Should I go on and on? I mean, amazing.
Oh,
Can
you make me sound so good.
It's all true. Can you please walk us through your careers and how you were able to pivot seamlessly from one success to the next?
Oh, I'm not so sure it's seamless. But if you'd like to think so, hey, that's awesome. Um, it's interesting because several years ago I was talking to someone, a young person who was like starting out their career and said, so I did this and then I did this and I did, and she went, geez, you've done a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm at that point in life where you can look back and you see all those roadblocks and bumps and pivots, and I think I just availed myself of what presented itself to me. Um I often will be like, what's the universe trying to tell me here? What am I supposed to do? Like, rather than agonizing over stuff, or I will, make a choice but keep it secret for a couple of days and then go, how's that feel? So it's a lot of that is gut instinct of, how do you progress through a career? In my career, I just wanted to be an actor, and I was wanting to be in Broadway musicals, and I wanted to get a Tony Award, and quickly learned that that was maybe not going to happen. Um, and then I had to learn a lot about myself, and I happened to just find myself in situations, jobs, um, where I was able to make a mark and like learn a lot about what I like to do, what I'm good at, and what the possibilities are. So I think a lot of times when you go into the performing arts, you there's that poster with the iceberg where we're familiar with this part, because and those are the actors, right? And then there's all this other stuff that happens, and I didn't know about the other stuff. And so when I was really young, it was learning about the other stuff and going, oh, hey, I can do that too.
Mm.
And so that's kind of what have that has led from one job to another in the business. But having the knowledge of the backstage stuff has been incredibly valuable to me in helping me being a better performer, and a better business person from that standpoint, because you really have to be your own business person as far as like your own manager and your own promotional department, and I'm not always very good at that, but I've learned about it through the different jobs. So many, a lot of those jobs are production jobs, working for a Broadway producer. Now I've been in nonprofit theater production for a very long time, and learned a lot on the job. Like, I don't think 30 years ago when we were in college, I would have thought, oh, I'm going to get a degree in arts management. And now that's a really big degree program that a lot of people do. But so I sort of built my arts management knowledge in real time.
Mm.
So, that's led from one thing to another to bring me to here in Michigan. Personal stuff got me to here in Michigan, but then starting a theater company with my colleagues, and this would have been our 15th season if we were open. But hey, COVID. So, you know.
That's so fascinating because I think if you weren't acting as much in New York, you're doing more of the production side, you might have felt like,
Mhm.
oh, I wish I was doing this more. But thank goodness you had this experience from producing to then start your own company. You knew so much already. You didn't have to go in there saying,
Yeah,
I think I might be able, you're like, I can do this, so
right.
it's neat.
Well,
I love how life kind of will put you where you need to be, learn what you need to learn for the next door that opens.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was interesting because when my colleagues were starting the Williamston Theatre, our company, the piece that they didn't have was a fundraiser. They didn't have a development person. And when I moved here to Michigan, my first husband's job brought us here, and I got a job working at the Michigan Theater in Ann Arbor, which is a historic restored movie palace from the 1920s. So it's a nonprofit, and it's a location, a center for the arts in the community, and they provide all these services and opportunities for community folks to. And they operate screens, 4 screens, and it's a cinema, an art house cinema kind of program. So I did the film programming for that for a little while, and then they got me into fundraising, and I learned from some of the best people in the state how to write grants, how to ask for money, how to talk to sponsors, all of that kind of stuff. And so when it was time, when the Williamson Theater started being born, and you know I was talking to John and Tony and Chris, and I said, well, have you figured out how you're going to raise money? How are you going to raise money? Because you're going to have to raise money. and they said, well, come have coffee with us. And so I went and had coffee with them, and I never stopped having coffee with them. And and here we are. And so I'm the one who started the fundraising kind of stuff for the theater, and that's been very fulfilling in a lot of different ways, but complementing the fact that I think as you get older, if you're a performer, when you're young, it's it's all about me and I'm going to be a star. And then you start going, well, why am I doing this? There's a reason for this art form. And so then you turn into an advocate for what the arts are in our community, whatever art medium you're promoting or advocating for. But so I began to realize how important theater and storytelling was in a small community, and why can't there be small professional theaters in all small towns, because everybody gets something from it. And I began to see it for really firsthand, standing in the lobby after a show, if I was house managing or just happened to be in the building, you see people coming out and their hearts are way open, and you go, oh, somebody shifted a little bit today. How cool is that?
Yes.
So
Yes. Oh, that's so true. Wow. And
yeah.
there's definitely an art to grant writing and fundraising, I will say. That is definitely something that can be honed beautifully. It's great that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't always like it. It's not always the fun job to do. Sometimes it's really, but then, somebody will say, well, I'm going to give you this much money, and it's some big check, and you go, oh, we can breathe, we can make payroll. Yay.
Yes,
And then you get to tell those people, look at the change you made by supporting this organization, and you can feel a part of this and this ownership. And that's always a really nice circle to complete.
Oh, for sure. You spoke about your intuition, which I think is so important in this Go For It series. Have you always been able to tune in and listen to your intuition, or do you have to hone that skill? Because then I think we're able to set that out pretty easily, I think, when we get in our own heads.
Yeah. Well, I think in my 20s, I didn't trust myself at all. I don't know about you, but graduated from college and then hitting the world, I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the world by storm, but I don't know how to. And I'm just this person sitting in the corner, I didn't think I didn't, and also going into an industry where constantly being judged and everybody is prettier and skinnier than you. So that, that eats away at that intuition. And part of it is that I didn't really know who I was. And so, time and experience teaches you who you are. And there have been points in my life where, and I think, honestly, getting divorced teaches you a lot about what loss you are able to tolerate. Because there's my mom died before I got divorced. And as horrible and sad as that was, it's a normal loss. You know that is the way that life is supposed to progress. You lose your parents, you help them into their next realm, whatever that is, if you are lucky enough. But then I got married or got divorced a couple years after that. And it was okay, I'm not screwing around anymore. I'm not going to um, waste time worrying so much
Mm,
about the choices. I'm just going to make the choices and know that along the way I'm going to lose stuff, and that's okay
mm,
because I'll survive it. Because if I survive that, I can survive anything. And um, you know, and of course the doubts always creep in, but at the same time you go, like, because we've had moments at the theater where things have been, you wonder, are you going, is this the right choice? And then just being able to go down the other road in your imagination and say, would I be okay not having that road and
mhm,
going down this road, and saying, yes, I'm going to be okay with that.
mhm,
That can be helpful to wake up those intuitions and live with whatever choices you're going to make
mhm,
and what you may be losing by making those
mhm.
choices. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Oh,
I
that's
mean, some of the best advice I ever got, I was trying to figure out after I got divorced. I was living here in Michigan. I'm not here from Michigan.
mhm,
And at the time we didn't have the theater and I wasn't married to John yet or anything like that. But I said, I don't know what I should do. Should I go back to New York or should I stay here? Because I was working a lot here. And, at the time I think I was 34, 35. And so starting again in New York felt like it was going to be hard at that age in this industry.
mhm.
And Tony, our artistic director at the theater, Tony Caselli, he and I were having lunch, and I said, I just don't know what to do. And he goes, make a decision, but don't tell anybody, and live with it for 2 or 3 days and see what it feels like. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did that. And it's great because then you test it, and you say, is the intuition right? And it's almost like the more you do that exercise, the quicker you're able to listen to yourself
Yes,
because you flex those muscles.
right.
So
I have never heard that advice before, and I love it so much.
it's really good.
It's real because I just love sitting with it and seeing how do I actually feel about this. Because I think
Hmm.
we want to just like, okay, I'm just going to go and do it. But sometimes it's not the right decision. So if you're sitting with it and it doesn't sit right, then you know it's not right. And if you feel really calm and comfortable about it, you think, oh, it must be right. But give yourself that
Right.
time to sit with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, yeah, it just can be really, really helpful in training yourself to listen to the inside voice because the inside voice knows. It knows what you want.
Oh,
It
oh,
knows it always. And
yeah.
so often we shut it down and we don't trust it
Mhm.
because we're, especially as women
Mm.
in this culture that we live in, you know, we are taught to not trust ourselves, and or that listening to that intuition is somehow flawed reasoning,
Right.
that because and I'm not talking about like true science here. This is like making choices in your life. Like science is science. You wear a mask, you get vaccinated, you do whatever that is, right? That's one thing. This is different. This is about making choices about, do I change my hair color to red or do I get divorced? Like those are things you kind of have to live with a little bit to understand whether
Right.
you're going to be okay with that choice.
And I think taking those couple of days, because we have, here's what my parents wanted me to be, here's what everybody else told me I should be. We can really shut
Yep.
those noises off and just really get inside and listen. And that takes time.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow. I'm just like marinating in your wonderfulness. So
Oh,
if somebody,
give me some back. I need a little marinating here myself. Yeah.
if somebody,
We all should marinate together. When the
yes,
pandemic is over, we will marinate together in like a hot tub somewhere with a martini. That would be awesome.
done. I'm there.
Right?
Yes. So if somebody does want to follow their passion or make a career change into their passion, but they're too afraid to take the leap, do you have any words of wisdom for them, especially starting their own business, like you started your own company?
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for that?
I this what I always tell young people is that you should try it on for size, because that's something that I didn't do when I went to pastry school. I was working in the theater, and it was coming up to the end of my 20s, and I was up to here with New York, because New York can be hard sometimes. But I was not happy with myself, and so that's why I was up to here. But uh, I said, I'm going to go to culinary school, because I had done a national commercial. So I had the money to go. It's always about the money, right? And I said, I'm going to go to culinary school, and I'm going to learn how to do pastry. And I went to culinary school, and I loved it. Every single day was something different. And I got really fat. And, because we were eating it all. That's what they don't tell you when you start culinary school. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to be an actor anymore. It's fine if I'm chubby. So I was just having a great time. Really smart, interesting people in the program, and every day was something new. And then I went and I worked in the industry, and the kitchens are very loud. I am not someone who is skilled in languages. My brain doesn't work very well with languages. I have terrible memory for vocabulary in foreign languages. And truthfully, in New York City, a lot of people who work in restaurants are people who speak other languages. And I was not able to communicate with the busboys who were speaking Spanish, or, the dishwashers, or the guys who were prepping the souffle stuff. And I didn't even think about that, because I had never worked in the space before. And um, and then when I moved to Florida, I worked in a bakery, and I was there at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was the only one. I was very lonely. I was making blueberry muffins every morning. I wasn't doing something new every day. I
Right.
was doing blueberry muffins every day, which, I mean, I love a good blueberry muffin, but I don't want to make them every day.
Right.
And so I think if you can avail yourself of any mentoring or shadowing, if you
Mm,
were thinking about shifting careers, ask yourself, do I want to spend my day at this desk doing this task, or a task like that? Or standing in a kitchen, or, standing in a toll booth, or whatever it is that you think you're going to be doing.
mhm.
Get yourself in the environment, because environment informs a lot about whether you can tolerate it and whether you'll enjoy it. Um, and then if you're going to start your own adventure, have a good team,
Mm,
because there's no way I could do a theater by myself. But
mhm.
I've got Tony and Chris and John, and we are very suited to each other. We complement each other in skill sets, and also in temperament. Uh, you know, we all bring our, no, I'm going to be the mom here and tell you not to do anything dangerous. We bring that hat out on occasion at different times. And
Mm,
it's so valuable, because the rest of us are like, let's go jump off the building and it'll be great. It'll be a show, just because, you think you can do everything crazy. So having that team, but also just the skill sets. Tony negotiates contracts. Chris does a whole bunch of like bookkeeping and making sure that we are compliant with everything. And I raise money, and John is handsome and tall, and he woos people, and, gets them to give us money and buy tickets and things like that. And he's also the Zen master. He's
mhm.
just really good at calming everybody down. So there's this, and Tony's like an amazing director. I didn't say that. And we all kind of listen to each other, and we all respect each other.
Mm,
And I think that that's really important. If you're going to do anything, have a good team,
right. I think
and
something
make
that,
sure you can stand everybody,
yeah,
because we've been together for 15 years. We've been
yeah.
doing this for 15 years now, longer, because like 17 years. Oh God. Took us a while to get going, but that's, you have to be able to like each other and respect each other. It's like marriage.
Yeah. Oh,
So
totally is. I think people do get daunted thinking, I want to start this business or this nonprofit or whatever, and I have to do it all myself. And who wouldn't be
Yeah.
afraid of that? So if you have in your mind to get the right people around you, that's a really good first step.
Yeah. Because then you bounce stuff, you
Mhm.
brainstorm, and I mean, it's been a really interesting thing in this pandemic. We've been very isolated, staying safe, all staying home, and we do Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And even in the Zoom meetings, an idea will pop up, and it's like, yes, yes, and yes, and I mean, that's the theater thing, right? You say yes, and and I think there's so much value in the collaboration, and because theater is such a collaborative art form, we couldn't do it without it. But I think that is with any business. It's like I listened to your your interview with Brian Emerson, and he talked about systems,
Mhm.
making your system function well, and what those communications are back and forth within that system.
Mhm.
Get the best one you can to start out with, because it's so important. It informs everything you do. So
Absolutely. And it takes a lot of strength to say, I'm coming into this company with this skill set. I don't know anything about ABC. Let's find someone who does. So to encourage someone, you don't have to know it all. You need to find the people who know
right,
what you don't know, but you don't have to do it all yourself.
right,
Yeah.
right. And we think we have this like myth of the auteur, someone who is going to just do everything on their own and gets all the credit. And Orson Welles didn't shoot those movies all by himself.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
had other people
Yep.
he trusted. I mean, he was smart with the narrative of it, and so he got a lot of credit, but he had a team of people who worked with him and helped, vault his name. He just put his name all over it, but the other people were doing all the work too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think anybody who's really, it's funny because the people who I've worked for who have been the most successful are the ones who look around the table and say, "What do you think? Okay, so what do you think? Yeah, I could be wrong about that. So what do you think?" And get those voices, because it's so much better to have multiple voices on any project, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Um, you're just gonna have better, a more robustly thought out thing, whatever it is.
Oh, so true.
Anyway.
Oh, that's so brilliant, really. You have been amazingly successful, but I'm sure there were challenges and roadblocks along the way. How did you
Oh
stay?
God.
No, none, zero. Okay.
Yeah, roadblocks. Yeah, totally. Well, myself. I think I'm the biggest roadblock to myself, you
Oh,
know,
so how do you keep yourself
insecurity.
motivated and on track?
Um, uh,
We're
well,
assuming that you do.
yeah, assuming that I do, right? I I'm very much a type A personality.
Mhm.
So I am a list maker. And if I don't do the things on my list, I kind of beat myself up about it. So that helps me keeping going. And I know I feed on getting things done.
Mm.
So if I get things done, I get more things done, because it's like a drug, like the more you do it, the more you want. So but I also know, and this is probably just, you get older and you figure this out. Like what I need to keep my brain centered and give myself time to think. And this is silly, but I have a dog, and I walk the dog for like an hour every morning. And it's exercise, and it's getting outside, which, when it's 14 degrees, it's not as pleasant, but, you know, it certainly keeps your blood thick in the winter, um, and gets you fresh air and all that stuff. But it does give you time to think. I carry my phone with me, and I just do notes to myself,
Mm.
because, and then I feel like I have it under control.
Mhm.
It's totally not true, but it makes you feel like you have it
Yeah,
under control, and then you can just take the next step.
exactly.
So some of it is figuring out how to trick yourself into, you know,
Yes. I love
what's going to do it for you. Because if I rest, and if I can, as much of a type A person as I am, I'm also a huge procrastinator. I mean, like, one of my favorite things is like just putting stuff in my inbox, and then like every 4 months I go through my inbox, and half of it I can throw it away because like I don't need it anymore because the time has passed. I figure if it's really important, I'll go in there and find it. But
Mhm.
um there's a lot of stuff where you're like, yeah, I don't need to think about this anymore. Okay,
Right.
I'll just throw this away.
Right.
But um yeah, so that's the big thing that I have to challenge myself to not be a procrastinator.
I love that. I love the whole tricking yourself into thinking you've got it under control. I think that is stellar, really. I do.
Fake it or make it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Right.
That's what it is. Fake it till you make it.
What are some tools people can have in their toolbox to stay encouraged with trying to start something new or, do a new career or turn a page somewhere?
Um, Look for mentors.
Hmm.
Uh, find the people who are spending their days doing what you want to do. So part of that is you have to know what you want to do, right?
Right.
Like, do you want to sit at a computer, or do you want to sit at a microphone, or do you want to, be seeing people drive by your toll booth, or do you want to, manage a grocery store? Whatever it is that you feel like you want to spend your time on this planet doing, find somebody who's doing it and say, can I shadow you? Can I talk to you?
Mhm.
Can I learn from you? And I think, finding a mentor, finding somebody who is willing to give their time, um, it is can be very valuable because you learn the ins and outs, and not just what you assume
Mhm.
that that path is, but what the path really is.
Right.
Um, so if you can do that, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
Um, there was a time when I was journaling a lot,
Mhm.
and journaling really helped me through several moments in my journey.
Mhm.
I don't tend to do that anymore, but I have this dog that I walk for an hour every morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I do sort of like mental journaling
Mm.
while I'm walking the dog,
Mhm.
um, and being in nature and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I would say, tools, as far as tools go, availing yourself of mentors, finding a good team, making sure that you have support in your personal life, whether that's a partner or a sibling or a best friend, or um, somebody who's going to be your biggest fan,
Mm.
and rub your feet when you're tired at the end of the day, and also buy you a bottle of champagne when you reach whatever goal it is. So, and
Yeah.
then find ways to celebrate those milestones, whatever they are. I
Yes.
read um I read on a narrator, uh, or maybe it was at a narrator conference, somebody who's very well established as a narrator. She like bakes a cake for every 100 books that she does, and then the whole family gets to have a party when she gets to whatever that milestone is, and they have cake, because she says her family, they have to be quiet in the house when she's recording, so they're part of
Yes.
the process of her having successfully completed a bunch of books. So,
Right. Wow.
finding whatever that, and I think we don't do that enough. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like we do the celebrating of the small milestones enough for ourselves. We're good at doing it for other people, especially if you're a mom. You're great at celebrating when your kid gets an A,
Yeah.
but when you do something remarkable, whatever that is for you, whether it's like, I don't know, a weight loss goal, or landing an account, or, learning some new skill or something, big cake.
Yeah.
Or maybe not if that's for the weight loss goal, but take a hike or something like that.
Yeah.
um, but that celebration, I think it gives you something to work toward, and know that you're gonna appreciate yourself when you get there.
Mhm. Oh, magnificent. That is wonderful. Oh, I love that. Yes, I totally concur. Tell us what your theater's been up to, how you had to pivot during this pesky pandemic and where we can find you.
This pesky little thing. Williamstontheatre.org is our website. We very long story short, we did have to pivot really hard. We were in rehearsal for a show when we saw the looming shutdown. We knew that it was coming, and so we videoed it and put it online, and we got, you know, contract with the union, and they gave us permission to do that. And so then we had to ask ourselves, do we want to keep doing that, and is it financially viable for a theater company to do that, and contractually viable, which it's not really. And it's definitely not financially viable, especially since none of us are filmmakers, we're theater makers. So what we shifted to was some audio offerings. So John, my husband, worked with our local history museum, the Williamston Depot Museum, which is like local history, and the historian and the president of the board there, who's a guy who knows a ton about town. And we did this walking tour because part of it was coming up on warm weather. We wanted people to be able to still come to the town because the theater, from an economic standpoint, brings a ton of people from out of town. So we have all these restaurants, and during the summer they were reopened, and they were open for outside dining and things like that. And at coming into the fall, and we thought, well, we can still have people come. And so we did this walking tour, a walking history tour, which I narrated, and we got some people to speak to certain events that happened in town. And it's called the fire tour because it actually looked at 5 big fires that happened and how they shaped the physical landscape of the downtown, which is interesting stuff. You know, it's kind of fun.
Cool. Yeah.
And so John mixed that together and did the engineering on it and everything. And that we put out for free. And I was able to get some really great grant funding from the Arts Council of Greater Lansing to support that. So that's on our website and it's free. One of our playwrights, because we do a lot of world premieres, one of our playwrights said, hey, I'll write you an audio play for this moment in time. So she wrote a play, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes, and it's set in Williamston. And it's kind of like a modern day fairy tale love story. She said, we need something nice and light. And so you can, either of these things, you can just sit at home and listen to them, or you can come to downtown Williamston and it talks you through the places to walk and sit on the park benches and listen. And so that one we're charging a little bit of money for, just to cover like the, you know, server costs and all that.
Yeah.
And we're looking at another project that involves one of our commissioned, we commissioned a series several years ago about life in the Midwest. And there were 3 plays in it, and one focused on women, one focused on men, and one focused on families. And it was called the Voices of the Midwest Project. And so Chris Purchase, our managing director, said, let's record some of those because people keep asking for them, and we're not going to necessarily bring them back anytime soon. And they're really beautiful pieces. And so so Tony's working on putting an audio version of some of that material together, hopefully, to have available on our website. So, you know, we're looking at audio stuff, which is really fun and accessible, and we can do that. You know, we've got the equipment to be able to do it in the theater, which is great, and we can do it and maintain social distance, so everybody's safe. And you know, we keep doing storytelling that way. It's called the Strolling Storytelling Project. So
I love that. Well, I'm just so grateful you didn't have to shut your doors completely. I mean, and so many places have.
I know.
So I'm so grateful.
I know, and
do really cool stuff.
Yeah, and we're doing some, like, you know, good housekeeping stuff too. We've got some capital improvements projects. We've got our space, like so many theaters, has poles right in the middle of the space. And so for years we've been working on trying to get rid of those poles. So we're doing the second chunk of the work toward the structural engineering for that. The poles won't be gone yet, but we're getting there. We make little jumps. So last weekend we spent the whole Saturday, John and I, with Tony, moving a whole bunch of stuff out of the places where they're doing the construction.
Right.
So that, and we're working with our board to do strategic planning and like board development stuff and governance stuff, which is so not sexy at all when you think about theater. But it's super important. And so, you know, we're doing that. We're getting that done too. So.
Well, that's a silver lining. The things that you, and like in your home too, you never had the time to do. Now look, you have all this time to do it.
Right,
Not that you
right.
want to, but you've
We
got
re
the time. Yeah.
we finally replaced the ceiling fan in the study.
Hey.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
And our marriage is still intact.
Hey,
That's
win-win.
amazing.
That's great. Tell us
It's
all.
so funny. I very
Good.
Go ahead.
No, you.
I was just going to say, I very rarely post stuff on Facebook, but I posted something about DIY projects and marriage, and it got so many responses because I think that's so universal.
I could talk to you all day. You are magnificent. Thank you so much. I learned so much. And I just hope you guys get to open up and have all that magic as soon as possible. And check out the stuff
Thank
online.
you.
We'll have it listed down there. Yeah, Williamston Theatre. Check it out. Thank you. You're a gem.
Thank,
Thank you.
thank you. Mwah. Thank you.